What's going on, guys? We're going to go over the controller settings. We're going to go explain to you all the meta controller settings, but also I know some of you guys are struggling with defending right now. There's a big problem with this new feature that doesn't allow you to change the controls. That's messing up everyone's defending. So I'm going to explain that. So if you have problems with defending, we're going to fix that as well, all in this video. So preset, lead us on competitive. You're playing rivals, foot champions. All the competitive gamers are going to have this on by default, so leave this on. And that's why auto shots and assisted headers are grayed out, because on competitive master switch or competitive mode, which is all the online game modes, that's going to be your default. For shot assistance, leave it on assisted. There's a new one, precision, this year. Now, I would say try it, delve into it. It replaced semi last year, but the benefit is this year you get the accurate shots and faster ball speeds. So it's difficult to master, don't get me wrong, but if you master it correctly, it's really good to use. For now, I would say elite plus is only people I would suggest precision pass to now, precision shot, should I say, too. Otherwise, leave it on assisted. Time shooting should be on by default. Unless you're new to the game, then I recommend turning it off because you may be used to spamming the shoot button. But otherwise, I would say leave it on. It increases your chances. I'll have a video on time shooting as well on my channel very soon, in terms of, and also a finishing tutorial. Then we go through pass distance, leave us on semi. Lob pass semi. Generally speaking, you can still control the power and where the ball is going to go with semi. It used to be an assisted like 2 years ago if you played the older FIFAs, but now in FC it's all by semi by default. The ground pass distance is the new one. You might know the new feature, the R1 plus triangle, the precision pass. You can still do the precision pass, guys, with assisted ground pass. There's no reason to use semi or manual. Always keep this on assisted. Always. Don't try to use semi because you might think it gives you more control to fix passing. It's the opposite. Leave it on assisted. If you need to do a manual pass, use a new precision pass feature, R1 plus triangle, to do a precision pass. I've got a video on my channel as well very soon. Same thing with a cross, but this year I'll go to semi. The reason why semi is effective is, let's say you're running down the wing. Let's say this is the byline, right? And if you cross the ball with semi, you can apply a bit of power, then it'll go near post. Middle power, it will go towards the middle of the goal. And a lot of power, the ball will go far post. You can't really control where the ball is going, far post, near post, with assisted. So leave this on semi, that way you have the power to control where you want the cross to go exactly. The only exception I leave this on assisted, and sometimes some of you may see me do it on assisted, is because I don't cross the ball in for a header. I use the driven cross, R1 plus square, and that is the only reason why, because it goes straight to the feet of the nearest player inside the box. Lob pass distance, leave it on assisted. The pass receiver lock has to go on late. Now, the best way I can explain this is, let's say this is the ball. This is your player A and this is player B. If you pass the ball to player number B, let's say you move the left analog stick, you press the pass button X, you pressed it now, and someone cuts the passing lane out, you can then change the ball to pass the ball to player C instead, as long as you've not kicked the ball. So the late allows you to change the direction of who you're passing to last minute. So you want to pass there, someone's marking a passing lane, you can change last minute. If you use animation, start, or power up, if someone, let's say player B, say you're player A, if you try to pass to player B, and then an opponent comes to intercept it, you cannot change it as soon as the animation is started, or as soon as, for example, you powered up your shot. So in my opinion, you want to leave this on late. There's no actual statistical benefit for using any of these rather than late. This is a new one, precision pass sensitivity. Now, this is a bit of a different one. I actually like high, but it takes a bit of time to get used to. I would say as you get used to it, just leave it on normal. And then as time goes on, this is the precision aim pass. So you make it more responsive. So I would say make the sensitivity higher once you're used to it. I would say start medium for now because it's quite difficult to master. It's kind of like a manual shooting. It's quite difficult to master. Then you go to the defending section. Clearance, I would say classic for new players if you're new to FC. Otherwise, an existing user, I would say directional. Now, this is where the biggest issue is. Now, the tactical defending is what you're used to. Advanced defending is the current new system inside the game. But the problem is, advanced defending has moved the tackle button. So let's say, for example, if you have different controls. So I actually tackle with the X button. Let's say hypothetically, I tackle with the X button instead of circle. With this new advanced defending, when I press X, my player is going to attempt to do a shoulder challenge or a seal out. So you can't get the ball. That's why many people are struggling with defending, is because advanced defending is on default. But unfortunately, as it stands, if we go to customize controls, you can't even adjust advanced defending for now. So it's quite problematic right now to use advanced defending. Now, what I would say is advanced defending has the benefit. It's a better style, but this is the big but. I would say for elite level plus. from my testing, I'm probably still going to be using and teaching tactical defending. You don't need to use advanced defending. Yes, it gives you that advantage, but most of the time you don't need to use it. You're talking about really pro level here and elite plus level that's really going to gain the advantage from this. Otherwise, you're going to miss out more times than not with tactical defending. I'll make a full video explaining this in more detail and explain the differences and why that's the case. But advanced defending is a new one. You can try it if you want, but you're not going to be used to the controls. You have to now press X for seal out and circle to attempt a slide tackle. You have the freedom to do the tackle type yourself, so you can choose to do a seal out or a stand tackle. Tactical, in my opinion, just a better one to use. Gives you more control, but it's not worth it using advanced. Just use tactical. Pass block, leave this on. There's no reason to leave this on off. Auto switching, leave this on air balls and loose balls. Never leave this on automatic. This will switch the ball for you when the ball is 6 feet or higher in the air. So the ball goes over the top. It will switch to a player for you automatically. You want this. If you have an automatic, it will switch for you all the time. You don't want that because let's say you're running back with your CDM because you don't want to break your back four. If you have this in automatic, your game might switch to your centre back for you and it will mess up your defending. You'll be confused. Why am I calling a centre back now instead of a CDM? So leave this on air balls and loose balls, in my opinion. It's the best one to use and you get the best advantage. Auto switch and move assistance. Now, this should never be on high, in my opinion. This is the worst thing to do. If there's like an auto switch, if you have the move assistance on, if it's on off, the game won't help you at all. This is good because let's say there's a ball coming in behind and your player switched automatically. If you want to go and let's say your opponent's running this way and the goal is over here. If you want to cut the passing lane with your centre back, you can just run back straight back. But if this is on high, for example, the game might move the opposite direction because that's where your left analog stick was facing. So what my recommendation is for every single player here, the minimum you should go is low, okay? Especially if you're new to the game, leave this on low. High is too much distance. It doesn't help you. It actually costs you more than it helps, especially with auto switching. It's difficult to use. There's no benefit for high. Low is the one you should be using, but you want to move towards none. If you're new to FC or you played FIFA before but you haven't played for a couple of years, use none, low, but you want to gravitate to none after I'll say a couple of weeks, a couple of months, so ideally go to none. If you're an existing player from last year, in my opinion, use none. Especially if you're above, I would say Division 5, you should be using none in my opinion. Right stick switching, there's 3. So player rotation is you flick the, so let's say I'm going to mark player A, B, C, and D. Now, if you flick the right analog stick, you have to then select the player and then you press the L1 button after to confirm, oh, I want to select player number D. But it takes too long. You have to flick multiple times and then select the player that you want. By the time you do that inside the game, the ball's going to move and the whole defense situation is going to be changing. So you don't want to use some player rotation. Adaptive is the one from last year. You hold the right. So if you hold the right stick for longer, you select the player further away. You tap it, you select the player shorter. I would say, to be honest, classic is just the best one to use. It's the out of them all, I think it's the one that you use the best. You can use adaptive. There might be a bit of an issue with the buggy side. I don't know if it's fixed on 100%, but just use classic in my opinion. Now, ball relative or player relative. Now, I got to tell you something, honestly. People always say to me, ball relative is not good. The only reason why everyone says this is because they use player relative their entire life. I would be the same. Because it's my job to test features out and explain to you what's the best. I switched to ball relative from player relative after playing for 20 years. And after using it, I realized it's better. The reason why is the ball's reference point. So this is the ball. So if you want to switch to player number A or player number B, player A, I flick to the right-hand side. Player B, I flick downwards. Wherever the ball is, and don't forget, your eyes are always tracing the ball, and you always want to set the closest player towards the ball anyway. So ball relative is actually perfect to use. Player relative is a bit different. The center point is the player that's already selected. Let's say you have player A, player B, player C, and player D. Let's say you have player A. If you want to select, let's say the ball is over here, okay? If you want to select player B, you got to flick to the bottom right to go to player B. If you then want to select player C, you then have to flick to the top right. So you're changing direction every single time. Whereas on ball relative, let's say we put it at the ball relative, the ball's over there, you just flick it once, top right to player C. If you want to go to player D, let's say it's player E in a way, you just flick it bottom right twice. It's very consistent. The only benefit of player relative is pressing at a higher level, but I still press, in my opinion, a very good level with ball relative. But that's the only benefit player relative has, that you can choose someone further away. It gives you a bit more control, but I would say ball relative is really the one to go for. Right stick sensitivity, a new one this year now. People are saying use 1, people are saying use 10. In my opinion, I was going to say leave it on 5, but leave it on 4 because I think that's the default one from last year. And then what you want to do is, I would say adjust it in game. So if your right stick sensitivity, you want it to be a bit higher, just turn it up and see how you feel inside the game. If you think it's too sensitive, then bring it down. This is a good feature to have inside the game, but don't go one extreme. Use a default, which I believe is 4, which is from last year. That's the reason why I left it on 4. That's my logic. If that's last year's sensitivity, adjust it in the game. Everyone's gonna have different thing. You know, some people, I got big thumb, big hands, so I'm quite heavy-handed. So sometimes I might press the right analog stick too much, too quickly, or apply too much pressure. So it depends. Next switch, this is a new one. You're closest to the ball, it is choose a player close to the ball. This is a good one. Your goal side, this is choose a player on a goal side or classic. I would say for most players use classic, because there's some situations where you don't want to choose a player on the ball, on the goal side. Let's say if you're defending with your CDM, or sometimes you don't want the closest player towards the ball, because the L1 button does that technically most of the time correctly. So I think AI does a good job of classic. I've done some testing as well from before. Classic is a good one to go with. Player lock is your feature you want to have on. Icon switching, turn it off. That's similar to do with player rotation, but it's like another variation of it. Don't use it, it's too slow. Orbit dribbling, I don't like the buttons that it uses, because I flick the L1 button to trigger a player to make a run, and I press the L2 button to shield sometimes. If you want, it's a new feature, you can leave this on. However, I prefer to leave it off. It's a new feature, if you want to use it, use it. Save assistant, semi, analog sprint. This is the best way I can explain this is this R2 button is like a gas pedal in your car, okay? So with analog sprint on, the gas pedal, your right analog stick is basically like a gas pedal. So you can say, so let's say for example, if you push it in all the way, you're driving at 100%. If you go in a little bit, like just a little bit of pressure, that's 50%. So if you apply 50% power, you're only going to go 50% of your sprint speed, hypothetically. The reason why you want this on off is when you're defending, people don't realize this, but when using the running jockey when you're defending, people, they inadvertently don't depress the R2 button the entire way. So you always be running at full speed. The benefit of this is the left analog stick, you can now control the speed of the dribble with the run button. But they now have a new feature called controlled sprint. You have normal dribbling, that's like, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that's going at 1 speed. Then you have controlled sprint, which is the new feature, the R1 plus left stick, which will replace the agile dribbling. And then the third state is the run button. So you have 3 speeds here. The left analog stick by itself for moving the ball, the R1 plus left, the controlled sprint, which is in between a normal jog with dribbling and a run button. You have the run button. This new feature has allowed you to use the middle ground. So in my opinion, I don't think there's a need for analog sprint. And to be honest, even out of the pro scene, only a handful of players use it. Trigger effect, I don't want resistance, and you don't want resistance because this can also affect your analog sprint. Turn this on off. User vibration feedback, I would say off. And what you need to do as well is you want to go on the home screen and you want to go all the way here. You want to go to settings as well, and you want to go over to controller. This is if you don't like vibration, because sometimes these triggers, especially on PS5, they like to then apply it. So you want to go here to controller. Can you see over here it says vibration intensity? You just behind the camera it says weak, medium and strong and standard. I have them both on off. So if you're on PlayStation 5, you're going to have to do this because the Xbox controller doesn't have the actual mechanism for the feedback, but you don't want it. It's not really ideal to use. And that's use vibration. And that is the new settings, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to go as quick as possible, but try to explain it. If you want to see more like this, you can join my FIFA School Series, patreon.com/nilguides. We've started our FC School Series. We've already got a controller video going in depth on my channel, on my FIFA School, where I explain each one in detail and what it does. And of course, for other videos, FIFA School. Don't get better after 1 month. The refund your money, Nil Guys guarantee. Patreon.com/nilguides. Don't miss out before we get fully subscribed this year as well. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. If you have any other questions, do let me know. But I'll catch you in the later video. I think it'll be a squad builder tomorrow. Later on today will be a squad builder. But don't forget patreon.com/nilguides, or you can click over here as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace, guys.